Good morning, y'all. It's Saturday. I'm stoked. Gonna talk to y'all about how do you right there watching, get selected for Army Warrant Officer Flight Training Program. How do you go fly helicopters for the U.S. Army? Bam! Let's jump right into it. Roll the intro. Welcome back. All right, first and foremost, jump online, do some research. Do you qualify to fly helicopters? Big two things, medical and criminal. I know. So medically, jump in there, look at the regulations, look at what it takes. Did you lose a leg? I say that all the time. Do you have asthma? Do you have anything that's going to prevent you from passing a flight physical? That's going to be huge. You got to pass that flight physical. It's what the Army signs off that says, hey, let's throw $1 million at this dude. Oh wait, he can't breathe. Let's not do that. All right, so go and check your past. Go check your history. Go check online, cross-reference, make sure that you're good to go. Second, check your criminal history. I know a lot of us did some dumb stuff when we were young. Underage drinking, DUIs, all that crazy stuff that we did when we were young bucks. Bounce that off of what the online regulations say. If you can't obtain a security clearance, you can't be an Army aviator. So just make sure that nothing in your past is going to prevent you from getting a security clearance. That can all be done online. Just do a little bit of back work. Keep yourself or save yourself some time rather than going in, getting all the way through the process and finding out you don't qualify because of medical or criminal. Find the right recruiter. I know people don't understand this. People are like, what do you mean find the right recruiter? So here's how it lays out. If you're going in to enlist into the Army, the first thing that they want to do is they want to get you in, they want to get you an MOS, they want to get you through basic, get you through AIT. They want to check that box, right? They want to hit that quota, they want to get that number, and they want to move on. It doesn't work that way for Warrant Officer Flight Training. You are not an easy recruit. And what I mean by that is the paperwork and the stuff they have to do on their end to get you into this program is so much more in depth than anything else they have to do for any other MOS. It's considered a special mission, right? So what you need to do is you need to go in there with your background research done and you need to say, this is what I want to do. I don't want to be a crew chief. I don't want to be an air traffic controller. I want to be a pilot. You have to be dead set. You have to go in there and you have to say, this is what I want to do. So I know you're going to try to talk me into enlisting to go do the crew chief thing first. Nah. Tell them straight up, nah, that's not what I want to do. It took me 3 different recruiters to find the right one that finally was like, all right, dude, I'll work with you. You seem to know what you want. You seem to have done the research, so let's knock this out. So make sure that is such a crucial part in this program is getting the right recruiter first. That's going to work for you. Sees how motivated you are and is like, hey, I want that dude on my team fighting in my Army. Yeah, let's do this. You got to drive an hour to a different city to find the right recruiter, then drive an hour, okay? What's an hour for the rest of your life doing the career that you love? After that, take your time. So the recruiter is going to lay out a bunch of stuff for you. He's going to say, you got to take the ASFAB. You got to take the SIFT, the Selection Instrument Test Flight Training. I don't know. It stands for something about, do you have the smarts to be a pilot? To tell you the truth, I've really never used anything that I took on the SIFT. It's just it's a check. You got to check the box. You got to get the passing score, and you got to move on to go do what you really want to do. What I mean by study is jump on Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, go out there and get the correct study material. There's nothing worse than knowing you want to do this, being, having the aptitude to do this and bombing a test and completely disqualifying yourself from this program. Study. I took 3 months. So I went in there, there's like a pre-ASFAB test you take at the recruiting station, and I did decent. I mean, I'm by no means the smartest dude on the block, but I did well enough to where he was like, you're going to MEPS this week, you're going to go take this test, we're going to get on with this. And I was like, no, see, about that, I want time to study because I'm not a good mather, and I need time to go ahead and I need to get back in the books. I hired a tutor for math, and I spent 3 months getting ready for the ASFAB. And to tell you the truth, I still didn't even do that well, but I did well enough to meet the minimum qualification to become a pilot. So do that. Take it serious. Block off an amount of time during the day to study, and study what you need to get better at, okay? After you pass the ASFAB, the next big test that you're going to take is the SIFT. Now, normally you don't do that the same first trip to MEPS. Normally you'll take the ASFAB, they'll do the initial health screening, whatever other crazy stuff the Army does when you're going to MEPS. Anyway, so you'll go back. I went to MEPS 4 times. So the second time I went back and I took the SIFT, right? But I think that was at least a month after, because I went on Amazon, try to throw a link in the description of the book that I used, and I studied the SIFT material, only because if you don't study it, it's gonna hit you like a ton of bricks. Completely different than the ASVAB. Now the math and the English and all that similar, but there's like shapes and hidden figures and a whole bunch of other like aviation related stuff that's kind of wonky. So make sure you get those books and you study. Take it serious, treat it like a job. After that, letters of recommendation. This is huge. You're getting someone to sign off on your name. They're putting their name behind you to get you into this program, whether it's a college professor, a high school professor, if you were lucky enough to know somebody already in the military that maybe holds some rank, high-ranking NCOs or officers. What's best is to get a warrant officer already doing the job to sign off on you. But what I did for letters of recommendation is I networked. I talked to my recruiter. He put me in contact with a couple warrant officers who were already doing the job. Now what was crazy is I was in Arizona and then I was talking to people in Fort Bliss. And I was emailing him back and forth. We had email traffic going and he was like, listen, I'm more than willing to write you a letter of recommendation, but you have to come here. I want to meet you. I want to interview you. I want to talk to you. I want to make sure that you're someone I want to put my name behind. So I drove my happy butt from Arizona to Texas to Fort Bliss and I sat down and I did the whole thing. It's going to take some work. You guys got to realize you need to treat getting into this program like a full-time job. Because if it's something you want to do, it's going to take some work. Do not use your family. I know a lot of people that try to use like family members. These letters of recommendation are huge because you got to think about it. When the board is sitting down to select you, all they have is a couple things. They have test scores, they have letters of recommendation, they have a few other things that we're going to talk about. But you got to get some pretty substantial letters of recommendation. Take your time on these. Get the best ones you can. Network, talk, get uncomfortable, get out there and get those letters of recommendation. After that, you got to write. You have to write why I want to be an Army Aviator essay, I think, like a page long or something. Now here's the big misconception. A lot of people jump on that essay and they're like, I want to be an Army Aviator because helicopters are cool. Obviously helicopters are cool. That's what you want to do. That's not what the Army is looking for, right? What they're looking for is a soldier first, right? You gotta write your attributes that make you a good soldier. You also have to write what makes you a good officer, right? Because it goes soldier, officer, and then aviator last. So what attributes do you have that make you highly qualified to be an Army officer? And then finally, briefly talk about why you think you'd be a good fit for Army aviation. So, like I said, keep that in mind when you're writing your essay. I'm a good soldier because of A, B, and C. I'm a good officer because of A, B, and C. Finally, wrap it all together with those attributes play into me being Army aviation very well. So keep that in mind when you're writing that one-page letter. Don't write about how helicopters are cool. Obviously, they're cool. Now, finally, everything gets checked off on. You passed the security clearance, you passed the medical, you passed your SIFT, you passed your ASVAB, you did your letter, got your letters of recommendation. What's next? The board, right? This is kind of what everyone stresses the most about. You go and you sit in front of a panel of Army people, and they interview you. They ask you questions. They see if you'd be the right fit for Army aviation. Keep the same mentality that you had in your essay. Go in there talking about why you're going to be a good soldier, right? Why you're going to be a good officer or warrant officer, and then finally, why you're going to be a good aviator. Make sure you're talking about those first two things more than the latter, because that is what the Army is looking for. You got to keep in mind, the people that were on my board were not Army aviators. They had no idea about Army aviation. So they're interviewing you for a job that maybe they don't really understand, but what they do understand is what it takes to be a soldier and an officer. So make sure you go in there, humble yourself, talk about that, do some research, talk to some people. Finally, while you're going through this whole process, PT, physically train, do your stuff. Make sure you're working your butt off, okay? Because that's one of the numbers that goes along with the test scores and your letters of recommendation and the why I want to be an Army aviator. That's one of those little numbers that's going to say, hey, this dude barely passes PT test. Do we really want to send him to flight school for a special missions MOS? Probably not. So make sure when you go to take your PT test, because you actually have to take a full PT test for the Army Special Missions MOSs. I know if you're enlisting, it's brief. It's like cut in half, or it's a portion of the actual PT test. But for this Special Missions, it's the whole kit and caboodle. You got to take the whole thing. So you really want to do well on that. You want to show that, you can keep yourself in shape while you're stressing about doing other things like getting these letters of recommendation and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I hope that helped. I hope that kind of puts a quick little Cliff Notes version of what it's going to take to get you into this program. Once you're in it, I'm telling you guys, woo, best decision I ever made. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments. I'll try to jump on there. I'll try to let it out. If you guys want follow-on videos breaking down any of these, let me know. Anyways, hope that helped. Y'all have a great weekend.